Satyamayi Parame Satyamayi Parame Satyamayi Parame Satyam Jnanam Satyam Jnanam Jyotir Aravinda Jyotir Aravinda Jyotir Aravinda. So we begin with a little story. Maybe we've recounted it earlier, but it bears context for the talk today. So there was one lady who came from abroad to the ashram when Mother and Sri Aurobindo, not Sri Aurobindo, Mother was in her body. And she kept asking people, what should I do? What is the technique? And everyone just kept telling her, just open to the Mother. And she was getting frustrated because she wanted a structure, methodology. But at the ashram, there was only one thing, open to the Mother. That was all there was. And it took her a long time to realize that that's all there is to this yoga, because all we have to do is open to her and let her do through us whatever needs to be done. And that's what this whole talk today is about, opening to the Mother. What does it really mean? So we look at two things. One is, when we say opening to the Mother, who is the Mother? What is it that we are opening to? Are we opening to this form, or the form and something? And what does it mean to open to her? So we just started with this chant, Anandamayi, Chaitanyamayi, Satyamayi, Parame, the one who is full of Ananda, joy, Chaitanya, consciousness, Satya, truth, Parame, that which is almighty, absolute and unbreakable. And this is the mantra given to us by Sri Aurobindo for the Mother, but it's really a mantra for all of us, what we are in our deepest, where we are one with the Mother. Mother always says, no, I am always with you because I am you. So her inside us has all these qualities. So opening to the Mother is actually opening to the deepest, highest, the most beautiful part of ourselves, which Sri Aurobindo says we are Jagrit in ignorance and Sushupta in wisdom. So the part of us which is all knowing and all beautiful, we are asleep in that. And we are awakened in the part of us which is ignorant. So opening to the Mother is to open to that part of us which is all beautiful, all joyful, all powerful, all knowing. And obviously if you open to a stronger part of you, you'll be able to do more. It's common sense. For example, your arm, which has the biceps, triceps, deltoids, it's stronger than your little finger, right? If I try to lift this with my little finger, it'll be a struggle. But if I use my whole arm, it's so easy to lift it. So obviously Mother is the stronger and the best part of us. And when we open to her and do anything, obviously the most difficult thing becomes easy because she is almighty, right? Therefore there's a line in Savitri, something to the effect that wherever there is the God touch, nothing is impossible, right? So that is what opening to the Mother really is. Now let's look at Mother and Sri Aurobindo's words on how it can be done. So these are Mother's words. She says, live constantly in the divine presence. The condition to be aimed at, the real achievement of yoga, the final perfection and attainment, for which all else is only a preparation, is a consciousness in which it is impossible to do anything without the divine. For then, if you are without the divine, the very source of your action disappears. Knowledge, power, all gone. So that's the ideal condition, when we can't do anything without feeling the Mother. For us, we are lucky if in few moments we feel her, otherwise we are living in forgetfulness. So Bhakti Behan, who used to run the Pedder Road Center, one day she was really upset and depressed and going into a corner and crying, and everyone asked her, what is it? Why are you like this? And she said, no. And when they pushed her, she said, today since I've gotten up, I'm not feeling the Mother. So she must be so connected to her that to not feel her was such a vacuous state. But most of us can go on very happily with our day, forgetting her most of the day, right? So that's not ideal. The ideal condition is where it's impossible to do anything without her. In the beginning of the yoga, you are apt to forget the divine very often, but by constant aspiration, you increase your remembrance and you diminish the forgetfulness. And this should not be done as a severe discipline or a duty. It must be a movement of love and joy. Then very soon a stage will come when, if you do not feel the presence of the divine at every moment and whatever you're doing, you feel at once lonely and sad and miserable. So it's such a simple practice. For those of us who have a connection with Mother's picture, throughout the day, just try to see her image in her heart. I mean, she's made yoga that simple, and not mechanically, as he says, not as a severe discipline, but as a movement of love and joy. You'll enjoy doing it, right? Because her image does bring you joy. So why not make it a discipline that whenever I have nothing to do, I'll concentrate on her image in my heart. Whether I'm walking, whether I'm cooking, that's one of a very powerful way to open to her, the constant remembrance of the divine. So that's what she's saying here. Whenever you find that you can do something without feeling the presence of the divine and yet be perfectly comfortable, you must understand that you are not consecrated in that part of your being. So we have 90% of our parts where we are not consecrated, because we can do 90 or 99% happily forgetting Mother, right? So she says, if you can do anything without remembering the divine, in that part you are not consecrated to the divine. That is the way of ordinary humanity, which does not feel any need of the divine. But for the seeker of divine life, it's very different. Ordinary humanity, okay, once a week, Sunday, go to the temple, pray, do your thing. But rest of the time, just carry on with your life and don't think about God. But that's not the way of the integral yoga or the Mother's path. And when you have entirely realized unity with the divine, then if the divine were only for a second to withdraw from you, you would simply drop dead. For the divine is now the life of your life, your whole existence, your single and complete support. If the divine is not there, nothing is left. Further, the Mother says, live constantly in the presence of the divine. Live in the feeling that it is this presence which moves you. and is doing everything you do. Offer all your movements to it, not only every mental action, every thought and feeling, but even the most ordinary and external actions such as eating. When you eat, you must feel that it is the divine who is eating through you. When you can thus gather all your movements into the one life, then you have in you unity instead of division. No longer is one part of your nature given to the divine while the rest remains in its ordinary ways, engrossed in ordinary things. Your entire life is taken up and integral transformation is gradually realized in you. So what Mother is saying, that we live centered around the ego, I. My appearance, my intellect, my job, my children, my this, my comfort. Everything is about I. But what Mother is saying is that the I doesn't exist, it's a phantom. Whatever you are actually belongs to the divine. It's a very sobering thought, no? That there's a beautiful song, you're living on borrowed time. You haven't a place to hide. The piper will be coming, he'll be taking you home. You're living on borrowed time. So whatever you call your own, the divine has lent it to you, and he's going to take it back. The cleverest person at some point will lose intellect, right? With age. The most beautiful woman will age. The strongest body at some point will lose strength. Every gift which you're so proud of and you say it's mine, at some point you'll realize it's lent to you, it doesn't belong to you, and the divine will take it away. So there's a beautiful line in the Isha Upanishad, Ma Gridha Kasya Isha Vasyam Idam Sarvam. All this is for the habitation of the Lord. Yat Kincha Jagatyam Jagat. In all the worlds within the worlds, it's the Lord and Lord alone. Tena Tyaktena Bunjita. By Tena Tyakten is to renounce. By renouncing enjoy, Ma Gridha Kasya Svidhanam. Do not covet another's wealth. So when you say my daughter, my appearance, my wisdom, it's actually the divine's wealth. But I'm coveting, I'm making my own what doesn't belong to me. So, tena tyaktena bhunjita, enjoy everything by renouncing it in the sense, enjoy it while it's given to you. You've given me this gift. You've given me this gift of strong muscles. You've given me this gift of a good mind, whatever. I'll enjoy it. But I'm aware it's a gift from you. You'll take it away whenever you like. So I don't make it mine. I enjoy it maximally without being attached to it. So the mother was asked that how does one die in peace? So she gave a very beautiful answer. She said that while living, enjoy the world but die to it. That is, don't be attached to anything. Live this whole world as if your whole life is a gift to you from the divine, and at every moment you're grateful for the gift, but you're realizing it's a gift, it's not yours. It's lent to you. Enjoy it, but be detached. Be prepared for the time that it will be taken away. At some point, everything we are attached to will be taken away. And that's not something to cry about. It's not that God wants to deprive us of things, but this whole world is evolutionary. If we stay stuck with things, we'll never grow. Some things taken away so other things can come to us, right? That's the way it is. So it's important to live constantly with that sense of nothing is mine, it's yours. I'm going to enjoy it because you've given it to me. But when you want to take it away, give me the blessing that I won't resist, that I'll say, okay, mother, it was yours. It was your grace, you gave it to me for so many years. You want to take it away, here it is. So there's a very beautiful story of Guru Nanak. Guru Nanak used to work in a granary where he used to measure out grain and give to people. So he was measuring out cupfuls of grain, and he said 1, 2, 3 and 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and he reached 13. And suddenly 13 became yours for him, yours as in God, and he lost consciousness. And he kept saying 13, 13, 13 and emptied out the whole grain to the customer who bought it. And that's something beautiful to remember, this whole trance that Nanak went into. Whatever I'm saying is mine, to just say 13 and give it. And that is such a beautiful solution to anything you're possessive about. You don't like the fact that somebody you love is paying attention to somebody else, but that person's not mine. He can't belong to me. He can only belong to the energy that became him, that he is. No person can belong to you. So cut the possessiveness, 13. You want something, you're not getting it, okay, it doesn't belong to me. It's anything you're feeling possessive or arrogant or proud about. I'm proud of my muscles, I'm proud of my intelligence. It's so beautiful to just say 13, it's yours. I'm going to nurture it because it's your gift. I'm going to hone it because it's your gift, but I'm aware that it's yours. It was never mine, it will never be. So that's what Mother's saying. Live as if everything in you belongs to the divine and nothing is yours. Somebody asked the Mother, when you are concentrated in mental movements or intellectual pursuits, why do we sometimes forget or lose touch with the divine? Very common, no? When we are doing mental work, we forget about the divine. So Mother says, you lose it because your consciousness is still divided. The divine has not settled into your mind. You are not wholly consecrated to the divine life. Otherwise, you could concentrate to any extent upon such things, and still you would have the sense of being helped and supported by the divine. In all pursuits, intellectual or active, your one motto should be remember and offer. Remember and offer. Remember what? That everything is Mother. So whatever I'm doing, I'm offering to you. The instrument through which it's being done, me, that's also being offered to you. Let whatever you do be done as an offering to the divine. And this too will be an excellent discipline for you. It will prevent you from doing many foolish and useless things. Oh, this is very beautiful. It's the Radha's prayer. Mother originally wrote this prayer in English and then translated it into French. And later, Sri Aurobindo translated the French version into English. This is the translation presented. O thou, whom at first sight, Mother's words, O thou, whom at first sight I knew for the Lord of my being and my God, receive my offering. I don't know, when I read it, I thought she was referring to Sri Aurobindo. Nowhere is it mentioned, but we know that the first meeting Mother had with Sri Aurobindo, remember, in fact, even before she met him, when they were 10 nautical miles at sea, she sensed his aura, and she said that if one being like this exists, even if we are plunged in darkness as a race, we have hope and we'll be fine. And the moment she saw him, she recognized him, as the Krishna of her dreams who would be coming and teaching her, and she recognized him to be the Lord. So I felt she's referring to that, but I can't be sure. O thou whom at first sight I knew for the Lord of my being and my God, receive my offering. Thine are all my thoughts, all my emotions, all the sentiments of my heart, all my sensations, all the movements of my life, each cell of my body, each drop of my blood. I am absolutely and altogether thine, thine without reserve. What does it mean when she says yours without reserve? What is it when we have a reserve in saying I'm yours, but I'm not going to listen to you in this part of it. I am yours, but please make this happen my way. So then there's a reserve. But Mother is saying, I am your thine, thine without reserve. What thou wilt of me, that I shall be. Whether thou choosest for me life or death, happiness or sorrow, pleasure or suffering, all that comes to me from thee will be welcome. This is also referring to that beautiful shloka from the Gita where Sri Krishna says that my devotee is one who will be in a state of Shubh Ashubh Parityag. Parityag is fully renounced. My devotee has fully renounced the distinction between good and bad, auspicious and inauspicious, because he receives whatever comes to him as a gift of grace from me, and he resists nothing at all. Each one of thy gifts will always be for me a gift divine, bringing with it the supreme felicity. So beautiful, no, nothing to explain, but an exquisite prayer. She's saying, thine are all my thoughts. So I'm not saying any thought is mine. Any great idea, it's yours. Any negative thought, it's yours. All my emotions, all the sentiments of my heart, all my sensations, all the movements of my life, each cell of my body, each drop of my blood, I am thine, absolutely and altogether thine, thine without reserve. Now this is very beautiful. It's Udar Pinto's conversation with the mother, recorded from memory. Sri Udar Pinto states, I joined the Sri Aurobindo ashram in 1937. That's when Mother and Sri Aurobindo were both in their body. And since then, I have tried to do his yoga as best I could by reading the very fine books he has written on the matter. But after about 25 years or more of this effort, I was not at all sure that I had reached anywhere. And so one day I told this to our sweet mother and asked her if I was doing the yoga correctly. I really hoped for her blessings to help me do it correctly. But I got a shock when she said that I was doing it all wrong. I was nonplussed and asked her, what should I do? And she answered, smiling, why do you want to do the yoga and do it all wrong? I said, then what should I do? She replied, I will do the yoga for you. You can stop all you're doing and let me do it. I asked, what is my part? Just give yourself to me and I will do it all for you. You just go on doing your work, the work you're doing for me. I accepted at once and I shook the hand of the mother as a sign of the contract we formed that day. But then I found that giving oneself to the mother is easy to say but so difficult to do. And so I asked her how to do it. She said, in the morning when you get up, what do? I said, I go to the toilet and get ready for my bath. But she asked for detail. And I said, I started with brushing my teeth. Then she asked, but what do you think of or dream about when you brush your teeth? And I said it was such a usual thing to do that I found nothing to think about or to dream about. Then she told me what I should do during each act of my toilet, my bath, my breakfast, etc. She said, instead of doing it unconsciously, think of me while doing it. Think that I am doing it. Feel my presence very much with you. Make me do with you the things you are doing. Talk to me. Discuss with me the best way of doing what you have to do. While eating, let us together find the wonderful taste of what we are eating. You will see how wonderful it will taste, even a slice of bread, if you eat it with me together, enjoying its taste. So, once when I was at the dining room, I was with a very special sadhak who ashram dining room, and he told me that let's both eat with our eyes shut and just remember the mother and chew very slowly, really feeling like she is chewing through our mouth. And I think we took more than half an hour, 40 minutes for that meal. We didn't say a word, but really we put each slice of the bread in our mouth, felt the mother, and everything became very slow. And the taste of the whole meal, I don't think I've ever had such a delicious meal. I don't know why I haven't done it at every meal, because it's our choice, right? We can make every meal like that. But really it was the most special meal I've had in my life. So that's what she's saying, that if you really invoke me, we just eat so mechanically, looking at our phone, talking, getting lost in the greed for the food. But the whole experience of eating can be so different if we invoke her, if we really say, Mother, come, you eat with me. You're giving me company over my meal. And really, if you ever are eating a meal alone and nobody will question why you're shutting your eyes and doing it, try it. It's really a beautiful experience. She added, when you go to sleep, that is the time when you should be very conscious of me. Let me put you to sleep, and then the whole night you will have a conscious sleep. So it's very beautiful, the thought that I'm not going to try and fall asleep. Mother, you put me to sleep. But for that we should actually believe. There's a very cynical part of us which feels that, mother's in Pondicherry, mother's in her pictures, but actually she's not really going to put me to sleep. And that thought cuts us off from her. But if we really believe, Mother, here, I'm coming to you, you put me to sleep, really, really believe it even for a moment, it can work magic with the quality of our sleep. When you awake and begin your day, you will then begin it in a more conscious way. How to find the soul? This is the first necessity, aspiration for the divine. The next thing you have to do is to tend it, to keep it always alert and awake and living. And for that, what is required is concentration. Concentration upon the divine with a view to an integral and absolute consecration to its will and purpose. Concentrate in the heart, enter into it, go within and deep and far as you can. Gather all the strings of your consciousness that are spread abroad, roll them up, and take a plunge and sink down. A fire is burning there. In the deep quietude of the heart, it is the divinity in you, your true being. Hear its voice, follow its dictates. So when Mother was asked how to find the soul, she said the first necessity is aspiration for the divine, to really want the divine, no matter what, in every circumstance, to really want the divine. And she says, plunge into the heart, gather all the scattered threads of your attention and go inside. Go deep within. A fire is burning there. That's the fire of your aspiration. That fire is the mother's presence, the psychic being. Its element is fire, no? The psychic element, often it's represented as a fire burning within. Now this is a very important question. Somebody asked Mother, how do we make our resolutions firm? We want you, but we get so lost in life that our will becomes weak. We start wanting other things. We get distracted by other things. How do we make our resolution to want only you strong? Sweet Mother, how can we make our resolution very firm? Mother, by wanting it to be firm. Laughter. No, Mother says, this seems like a joke, but it's absolutely true. One does not want it truly. Do you resonate with it? We want to want it, but do we truly want it? We don't really want it. We want everything else more. We want attention from that person more. We want outcomes for ourselves and our loved ones more. We don't truly want the divine more than anything else. That's what Mother's pointing out. One does not want it truly. There is always, it's a lack of sincerity. If you look sincerely, you will see that you have decided that it will be like this. And then beneath there is something which has not decided at all and is waiting for a second of hesitation in order to rush forward. So a surface part of you has decided that, I want to consecrate my life to the divine and to the Mother. But in the vital or mental, there's a part which does not want it and wants the slightest hesitation in you to jump forward and say, no, this is more important than remembering Mother. First solve this, first sort this out. This is far more important. So that Mother says is a lack of sincerity. So I think I was telling you all when we were at our Pondi trip, something that really strikes me as so sincere. You know the Park Guest House in Pondi, it was run by Kusumben, who left her body very recently. And she was given the charge of the guest house by the Mother herself. And the Mother has visited Park Guest House many times, and it was very special to Kusumben. Now during the tsunami, there were massive announcements, vacate and all, and we all know Pondi was very badly hit. Now Kusumben's sincerity, Mother has given me the charge of Park. I cannot abandon it. So literally she would not abandon what appeared to be a sinking ship. You know how Park is, it's on the shore. So she said, Mother has given me this. If I have to die, I will die here only. I will not budge from here. She did not want her life or her safety more. She wanted to safeguard the charge Mother had given to her, whatever the consequence. So that is absolute sincerity. And then when she said that, all her staff also said, okay Kusumben, if you're staying, we are also staying. And they all stayed. And not a drop of water came into the lawn. You know how the lawns are, like the waves are lapping it. Tsunami came and went, not a drop of water came into the lawns. So if you have that kind of sincerity where you don't care about your life or death because you care about the divine so much, you're bound to be looked after. But you need that kind of sincerity and you need that kind of trust in the divine. If you are sincere and get hold of the part which is hiding, waiting, not showing itself, which knows that there will come a second of indecision when it can rush out and make you do the things you have decided not to do. But if you really want it, nothing in the world can prevent you from doing what you want. It is because one doesn't know how to will it. It is because one is divided in one's will. If you are not divided in your will, I will say that nobody in the world can make you change your will. But it's like one part of us wants the mother, but another part of us doesn't want her at all. It wants all the ordinary things in life. Mother says to learn how to will is a very important thing. And to will truly, you must unify your being. In fact, to be a being, one must first unify oneself. If one is pulled by absolutely opposite tendencies, if one spends 3/4 of one's life without being conscious of oneself and the reasons why one does things, is one a real being? One does not exist. One is a mass of influences, movements, forces, actions, reactions, but one is not a being. One begins to become a being when one begins to have a will, and one can't have a will unless one is unified. So unless we are unified around the psychic center, we don't really have a will. We want something now, somebody else comes and tells us the opposite. We think, I don't want this, I want that. We really don't know what we want unless we are unified around the psychic. And when you have a will, you will be able to say to the divine, I want what you want. So beautiful, no? I want what you want, but not before that. Because in order to want what the divine wants, you must have a will. Otherwise, you can will nothing at all. This is such a beautiful paradox. That's why Mother says it's very important to individualize the ego before you surrender. If you haven't individualized, what will you surrender? You have nothing to surrender. So you have to have a will, and then that will can be surrendered to the divine, that whatever you will, let that happen. You would like it very much. You would very much like to want what the divine wants to do. You don't possess a will to give to him and to put at his service. Something like that, gelatinous, like jellyfish, there, a mass of good wills, and I'm considering the better side of things and forgetting the bad wills, a mass of good wills, half conscious and fluctuating. Sri Aurobindo's words, there are many ways of opening to this divine consciousness or entering into it. My way, which I show to others, is by a constant practice to go inward into oneself, to open by aspiration to the divine, and once one is conscious of it and its action, to give oneself to it entirely. So what does Sri Aurobindo say? How do we open to the divine consciousness? To go inwards. Now how do you go inwards? The simplest, it's so simple, a child can do it, to constantly try and keep the mother's image as a background. Whatever you're doing, see her face within you. I'm telling you, you'll walk life with a different step. If constantly you make it a discipline to refer, there's nothing to think about, instead of wasting time on useless thoughts, let me concentrate on her. Mothers made the path so simple, like going within earlier was silencing the mind and all, which is difficult for a lay person. But for every child of the mother, it's so easy to remember her and love her, isn't it? So it's us to go inside, that's all you need to do. You need to remember her and love her. But all the time, not just when you're in Pandi, not just when you come to Sarkar. So, is to go inwards into oneself, to open by aspiration to the divine. What should the aspiration be? I want to love you constantly. I want to give myself to you constantly. And once one is conscious of it and its actions, to give oneself to it entirely. This self-giving means not to ask for anything, but the constant contact or union with the divine consciousness. So that's a far off thing, because right now most of our relationship with the divine is asking for help and support, isn't it? But that's also legitimate, because when we ask and we receive, that's how we believe, right? That's how we develop a relationship with the divine. But eventually it comes to a point where you trust the divine so much that you don't need to ask anything. You just know that whatever the divine will do, it will be for your best. And you're just in a state of self-giving. Take my thoughts, take my emotions, take my life. All this is yours, I'm giving it to you. Then there is no question of praying for anything or asking for any support, but that's a later on stage. Right now, if my strength is in asking for support from the divine and praying to her, nothing wrong with that at all. But to know that there is something beyond that also which I can evolve to. If one can once open and feel the divine force, the power of the spirit working in the mind and heart and body, the rest is a matter of remaining faithful to it, calling for it always, allowing it to do its work. What does it mean to remain faithful to it? Faithful to the power of the spirit working in the mind, heart and body. What does it mean to be faithful to it?
You offered it to her. Then whatever the idea comes, you do it. You don't put your will.
Okay. So whatever but sometimes it can be your mind also. You have to be sure it's coming from her. What else?
To be consistent in your effort, not to divulge in other ways.
To be consistent in your effort and to not sacrifice her for fulfilling the moment's desire. Na? When we are chasing our desires, we so easily forget her. That online shopping, this something, that something. And we are in the midst of all that, we completely forget her, right? So, to be faithful to her is, whenever I'm fulfilling a desire and it's blinding me, to first remember mother and to remind myself, but I want the mother more. Then I still want to fulfill the desire, let me fulfill it. But deep down, I always want the mother more than anything, right? Since the beginning of time. So there was a beautiful poem called The Temple, where the poet is saying that this temple, where she's referring to herself, it's got this imperfection and that imperfection and this and that, but still come. I know the temple is very imperfect and unworthy of you, but still come. For there is something deep within which has not stopped loving you for one moment in time. So the poet is recognizing that I know on the surface I'm all this, but deep down I have something which has never stopped loving you for one moment in time. And by the right of that love, I'm asking you come. So in Savitri, there's a beautiful line, love is man's lien on the absolute. Lien is right. Love is man's right to God. However imperfect man is, if I love God, I have a right to him. So, it's in always remembering that there's something deep within me that has not stopped loving the mother for even one moment in time, and something deep within me which always wants the mother more than anything else. The mother's assurance, these are mother's words. If you say to the divine with conviction, I want only you, the divine will arrange all the circumstances in such a way as to compel you to be sincere. So beautiful. If you truly say to the divine, I want only you, the divine will arrange all circumstances in such a way as to compel you to be sincere. Something in the being, I want only you, the aspiration, and then one wants 100 odd things all the time. Isn't that so? Mother knows the human condition. At times something comes, just usually to disturb everything. It stands in the way and prevents you from realizing your aspiration. Well, the divine will come without showing himself, without your seeing him, without your having any inkling of it, and he will arrange all the circumstances in such a way that everything that prevents you from belonging solely to the divine will be removed from your path inevitably. Then when all is removed, you begin to howl and complain. But later, if you're sincere and look at yourself straight in the eye, you have said to the Lord, you have said, I want only you. He will remain close to you. All the rest will go away. This is indeed a higher grace. So beautiful in Savitri, there's that line, the soul that learns to live alone finds God. His lonely universe is their place of rendezvous. His lonely universe is their place of rendezvous. I don't even mean that you must say it integrally, because if one says it integrally, the work is done. What is necessary is that one part of the being, indeed the central will, says it with conviction. I want only you, even once, and it suffices. All that takes more or less long, sometimes it stretches over years, but one reaches the goal. The more the imperfections, the longer it takes. The more the attachments one has, the longer it takes. Any questions about this or any questions so far? Okay. Then Sri Aurobindo says something very beautiful. Each time there is a purification of the outer nature, it becomes more possible for the inner being to reveal itself. What a marvelous line. Each time there is a purification of the outer nature. So my outer nature has a lot of fear. Suppose I release that fear, it becomes possible for the inner being to reveal itself a little more. I have a lot of jealousy. I overcome that jealousy. It's possible for the inner being to reveal itself more. I have arrogance. Anything negative in me, that's the veil between God and me. So every time that changes in me, it becomes easier for the inner being to show itself. So beautifully said that any healing, whether it's mental, physical or vital, is coming closer to God. You heal anything in you, and that healing brings you closer to God. So, in older yogas, they just focused on these ecstatic, peaceful states of mind and didn't really work on the nature, on the way we live. So life was very divided. A being capable of great stillness could be an emotional mess, because that the whole thrust of that life wasn't to work on their emotions. But in Sri Aurobindo's yoga, the real worship of God is to work on your nature. Because every time you cleanse and purify your nature, you come closer to the deity within. And the real deity is within you. The deity you have greatest access to is never in a temple. It's the deity in your own heart. And that deity you can't reach by doing 100 pujas, 100 rituals. The real ritual to reach that deity is self-purification, to work on your nature, to work on your emotions and your thoughts. Because every time you're doing that, you're cleaning the temple. And only if you clean this temple, which is the temple most relevant to you, outer temples are far less relevant than the temple this is, because this is housing the deity within. So this temple has to be kept clean. Then the deity will come alive and speak. So there's a very beautiful story about Mirabai. I don't know if I've shared it, but Mirabai used to always sing beautiful songs. And although she was a Rajput Maharani, she threw open the doors of her temple to anyone, because anyone who loves Krishna can come. So she didn't keep parda, for which her in-laws used to really give her a lot of grief, but she didn't care. And once she was singing in the temple, and there was a Harijan, an untouchable, who was sweeping outside. And from far away he heard, and he had real love for Krishna, and it was a Krishna bhajan. And like in a trance, he started sweeping closer and closer and closer to the temple, until he reached the step of the temple. And the pujari saw him, and for those days the pujaris, if the shadow of a Harijan felt on you, you had to have a bath and all that. So very rudely he shouted at him and threw him out. Mirabai didn't know this all had happened. Now every night she would offer bhog to Krishna, prasad, lock up the temple, go, and in the morning there would be fingerprints. It's a known fact, as if Krishna would have eaten it. Now next morning when she came, the prasad was untouched, and Krishna used to come alive and talk to her. We all know that. He taught her songs and bhajans and all that. But that day it remained a stone statue, and Mirabai was very upset. She really prayed, but he didn't come alive, and then she saw big tears rolling down the statue's face. So then Mirabai asked him that, what is it, Krishna? Why have you turned your back on me, and why are you crying? So Krishna says, this is not my temple anymore. I'm not going to dwell here anymore. So Mirabai said, why? What have I done? So he said, there was a devotee of mine who had true love for me, who wanted to come to me, and I was the one who was pulling him closer and closer. It was my flute that he heard. Otherwise he wouldn't have the guts to, because he knows the consequences of it. And your pujari turned him away so wildly that I'm not going to be here anymore. So what I'm saying is, if anything untoward is, like in a very metaphorical way, Mirabai could be the psychic being of that temple, no? And the pujari could represent the vital, that part of us which is rigid and conditioned. So Mirabai is there, she's singing to Krishna. But if there's a part of us which doesn't treat humanity well, or is given to the lower nature, then the idol can't stay there. No matter how many rituals and pujas you do, you need the whole temple to be cleansed and consecrated to the divine. Otherwise, the divine presence doesn't show itself. Okay, now these absolutely fabulous lines from Savitri. In fact, you can just meditate on these lines. These can be a mantra for meditation. In moments, when the inner lamps are lit when you're connected to your within, and the life's cherished guests are left outside. Who are life's cherished guests? All our thoughts, our desires, what we cherish, all our attachments. So Sri Aurobindo is saying, in moments when the inner lamps are lit and the life's cherished guests are left outside, our spirit sits alone and speaks to its gulfs. Just shut your eyes and feel these lines. I'm just going to say them over and over again. These 3 lines, you can just repeat them over and over again, and they can be a mantra for meditation. In moments when the inner lamps are lit and the life's cherished guests are left outside, our spirit sits alone and speaks to its gulfs. In moments when the inner lamps are lit and the life's cherished guests are left outside, the spirit sits alone and speaks to its gulfs. A wider consciousness opens then its doors. This is opening to the mother. If we can sit alone, light the psychic fire, inner lamps are lit, leave thoughts outside, that's life's cherished guests. Then a wider consciousness opens then its doors, invading from spiritual silences. A ray of timeless glory stoops a while to commune with our seized, illumined clay and leaves its huge white stamp upon our lives. So Sri Aurobindo is saying, when we sit quietly like this, connecting with our inner lamps, life's cherished guests left outside, a wider consciousness opens then its doors, invading from spiritual silences. So spiritual silences invade us. A ray of timeless glory stoops a while. This reminds me of the Matri Mandir ray, right? We see that ray, a ray of timeless glory stoops a while. Stoops means bends low. That is high up, so it bends low to touch us. Stoops a while to commune, to communicate with us seized. It has seized us. It has seized us in its rapture, in its peace. Illumined clay, lit up clay. We are the clay. So the ray of timeless glory has descended to communicate with us. We are the seized, illumined clay, and leaves its huge white stamp upon our life. White represents purity, peace. So if this happens even once, it leaves its stamp upon us. We are never the same again. So beautiful, no? I'm reading this whole thing, just feel it. Actually, my words won't explain it to you. Just feel it in your heart will explain it to you. In moments when the inner lamps are lit and the life's cherished guests are left outside, our spirit sits alone and speaks to its gulfs. A wider consciousness opens then its doors, invading from spiritual silences. A ray of timeless glory stoops a while to commune with our seized, illumined clay and leaves its huge white stamp upon our lives. In the oblivious field of mortal mind, oblivious is ignorant, mortal is human. in the ignorant field of our human mind, revealed to the closed prophet eyes of trance. So, when this happens in the ignorant field of human thinking, something is revealed to the closed prophet eyes of trance. Because when this happens, you're in a trance, right? When a ray of timeless glory stoops a while, you're in a trance. So revealed to the closed prophet eyes of trance, or in some deep internal solitude, witnessed by a strange immaterial sense, the signals of eternity appear. So beautiful. When you're in this state, revealed to the closed prophet eyes of trance. This is the eyes of the seer inside us. So it can't be revealed to our mind. Our mind is incapable of seeing it. But to the eyes of the seer within us, this is revealed. Or in some deep internal solitude, witnessed by a strange immaterial sense, the signals of eternity appear. So when you're quiet like this, you just sense that you are forever, that you have never not been, you will never not be. And in sensing your own immortality, all fear dissolves. All fear is really a fear of being temporary. Everything that's temporary and small fears. Everything that's eternal is free from fear. So signals of eternity appear. The truth mind could not know unveils its face. We hear what mortal ears have never heard. We feel what earthly sense has never felt. We love what common hearts repel and dread. This happens to us quite often, no? We've had a fight with someone and we just sit quietly, and at the end of a really good sit, we feel so much softer towards them. We feel like going and talking to them or something like that. So we feel what earthly sense has never felt. We love what common hearts repel and dread. Our minds hush to a bright omniscient. Omniscient is an all-knowing one. So when our mind is quiet and it's trying not to know everything, we fall into a space of all-knowingness. Our minds hush to a bright omniscient. A voice calls from the chambers of the soul. We meet the ecstasy of the Godhead's touch in golden privacies of immortal fire. Golden is the color of the supramental, no? So in golden privacies of immortal fire, these signs are native to a larger self. So when we feel all this, we are glimpsing the truth of what we are. These signs are native to a larger self that lives within us by ourselves unseen. So beautiful. So this larger self is like the stranger who has loved us all our lives. It's a stranger to us, but it's within us and it's loved us all our lives. So that lives within us by ourselves unseen. Only sometimes a holier influence comes. A tide of mightier surgings bears our lives, and a diviner presence moves the soul. Or through the earthly covering something breaks, a grace and beauty of spiritual light, the murmuring tongue of a celestial fire. So beautiful. Your aspiration is described as a murmuring tongue because it never shouts. It murmurs of a celestial, of a heavenly fire. A murmuring tongue of a celestial fire. Ourself and a high stranger whom we feel. It is and acts unseen as if it were not. So our higher self is a high stranger. It is and acts unseen. Its acts are so subtle that we feel it doesn't exist. But from within us, it's guiding us, protecting us, loving us. It is and acts unseen as if it were not. It follows the line of sempiternal birth, eternal birth, yet seems to perish with its mortal flame. So this us which is eternal, it seems to perish with its mortal flame, but it continues through all eternity. So now I'm just going to read this passage. Mother said, Savitri is written in a way to open your psychic being petal by petal. She said if you don't do anything and you read Savitri, it's the highest meditation. So just connect in your heart. Put your hand over your heart. See your favorite image of the mother in the heart. And keep looking at it as you hear these lines of Savitri. I'll say them without diluting them with any explanation. You can relax your hand or keep it there once you've connected. In moments when the inner lamps are lit and the life's cherished guests are left outside, our spirit sits alone and speaks to its gulfs. A wider consciousness opens then its doors, invading from spiritual silences. A ray of timeless glory stoops a while to commune with our seized, illumined clay and leaves its huge white stamp upon our lives. In the oblivious field of mortal mind, revealed to the closed prophet eyes of trance, or in some deep internal solitude, witnessed by a strange, immaterial sense, the signals of eternity appear. The truth mind could not know unveils its face. We hear what mortal ears have never heard. We feel what earthly sense has never felt. We love what common hearts repel and dread. Our minds hush to a bright omniscient. A voice calls from the chambers of the soul. We meet the ecstasy of the Godhead's touch in golden privacies of immortal fire. These signs are native to a larger self that lives within us by ourselves unseen. Only sometimes a holier influence comes. A tide of mightier surgings bears our lives, and a diviner presence moves the soul. Or through the earthly covering something breaks, a grace and beauty of spiritual light, the murmuring tongue of a celestial fire, ourself and a high stranger whom we feel. It is and acts unseen as if it were not. It follows the line of sempiternal birth, yet seems to perish with its mortal frame. Hands together in a namaste, 3 ohms. Om.